Well, no, it's pretty warm in here. I just want to say good evening and welcome to everyone here in the Grange and those people that are online. And thank you for attending and participating in this exercise of democracy. I am Sandy Montag and a member of the Klickitat County Skamania League of Women Voters. And just a couple of housekeeping items before we start. The location of the bathroom is right there. And in case of emergency, the exits are the door you came in and the door on the stage behind the candidates. And please respect the candidates and each other. No cell phones, no recording. Save your applause till the end of the debate. Now, it's hot in here. We have water in a red cooler at the back, and you're free to go back and get a bottle of ice cold water. If you'd like to ask a question, and there will be time to ask questions, we have 3x5 cards on the table in the back. Go ahead. If you don't have one, go ahead and get one up. Now, the League of Women Voters of Klickitat County and Skamania County, with our co-sponsors, the Columbia Gorge News and the Goldendale Sentinel, are pleased to present to you the candidates for Sheriff of Klickitat County. The League is nonpartisan, neither supporting nor opposing candidates or political parties at any level of government. We work on vital issues of concern to our members and the public to defend our democracy and empower voters. The League sponsors forums like this so that voters may be informed when they vote. In order to vote, you must be registered, and you can do that at the back of the room. And now, to get to the forum, I introduce our moderator, Roger Nichols, who has worked in local radio. It's a rodeo. Local radio and newspaper since 1966. Along the way, he became an award-winning writer and news editor for the Dallas Chronicle. These days, among other work, he covers Klickitat County Commissioner meetings for the Goldendale Sentinel, Columbia Gorge News, and a group of radio stations. He will explain the forum procedures.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sandy. Everybody hear me okay? Is Mike what it's supposed to do? That's good. Again, I want to remind you that at the bottom of the handout here is where they were going to be posted. This whole video is going to be posted online on the Facebook page and the YouTube for the Klickitat and Skamania Women Voters. So you can take that with you if you want to keep up. I'm sorry, I don't have the microphone volume over here. Can you turn it up over there?
I can try.
Oh, sorry about that. That's why I want to make sure this is loud enough. Get closer to it. There you go. You think after all these years of radio, I learned how to work a microphone. I'll tell you. Oh, by the way, cell phone silence, please, please, please. We don't need interruptions. Okay. I'm the moderator. You're in luck tonight. With us are the following candidates. By the way, they're seated up here in order of appearance in the voters pamphlet. You wondered why we did them the way we did. Don Bruce, Tony Warren, and Blaine Matulich. And now here's the way it's going to work. They did not receive our questions in advance. Some of them were written by the sponsoring organizations. Some were submitted prior to the forum by the public. Now, you have the cards. In about 15 minutes, we'll signal we pick them up. We want to give you some time to listen a little bit to them and think out what you want to write, so it's a very cogent question. All questions will be vetted for bias, accuracy, and duplicity. And unfortunately, due to the volume of questions, not all of them will be able to be asked. Now, the participants on Zoom will be able to hear the forum, but will be unable to submit questions. Now, there will be an opportunity to talk to the candidates after the forum is over. Candidates will have 3 minutes for an opening statement. Candidates have agreed to stay on topic and will have 1.5 minutes to respond to each question. At the end of each question, at the end of the whole questions, the candidates will have 2 minutes for closing statement and will alternate which candidate answers first, following the order of the candidates on the ballot. Now, we have a timekeeper here in front of us. And she will be holding up cards at the appropriate intervals, 30 seconds. You get a yellow card, a red card, it's time to stop. And I will interrupt the candidate if they go on too long because I'm on your side, folks. So again, no campaign signs, political polling, we've already mentioned that. Oh, this is a meeting for adults. You cannot behave. Remember, you're seated in a forum for 3 experienced law enforcement officers. Do not mess them up, okay? All right, the candidates got the ground rules for tonight forum in advance. They've agreed to abide by them. And we'll hear from the candidates for their 3-minute introduction. We have 1 microphone which we'll be passing back and forth. So John Bruce, please tell us about yourself, why you are running for the office, your management experience, and why you are the best qualified candidate to serve as our sheriff.
Thank you, Roger. So my name is John Bruce, and I'm excited to be running for sheriff for Klickitat County. The reason that I'm running is because there is a need for someone with good administration and management to take over the sheriff's office. Well, I could be that person for you. I have over 35 and a half years of law enforcement experience in 3 cities in 2 different states. Of those 35 and a half years, about 24 of those years, I have been in a command position, learning all about budgeting, administration, personnel issues, internal affairs, hiring, and yes, firing. But it's also about policy and procedure and holding people accountable. During my time at Frisco, Texas, I rose to the rank of chief, and I was the chief there for almost 7 years. After 33 years in Texas law enforcement, I retired, and I applied for and took the job in Richland, Washington, as their chief. While I was the chief at Richland, Washington, I actually wore 3 different hats: chief of police, executive director of the Southeast Communications Center, and emergency management for Benton County. After a change of city management, I was asked to leave, and that is their prerogative. You are an at-will employee when you're the chief of police working for a city. And so I left after almost just over 2.5 years there. I still work in law enforcement. I consult with an international company that provides standards for law enforcement agencies. And I go around the country and Mexico and audit law enforcement agencies for compliance with standards that are based on best practices. Once again, I feel like I'm your best choice to be your next sheriff because of my experience in management, in administration, in knowing how to run a law enforcement agency. Thank you.
All right, next candidate, Tony Warren. You want me to repeat the question, or have you got it all memorized yet?
Oh,
I think you got it.
thanks, John. And thank you all for being here. It's great to see so many people here, a lot of familiar faces, a lot of people I don't know. So a little bit about me. Yes, my name is Tony Warren. Yes, the rumors are true. I am running for Klickitat County Sheriff. So a little bit about me. I grew up in a family of law enforcement. My father was in law enforcement. Family friends were. They influenced me from a young age. I do have over 29 years as a certified peace officer in the state of Washington. I started as a reserve deputy in Skamania County. I worked part-time for Skamania County. I came to White Salmon, where I worked for 11 years as an officer and a detective and a trainer. I've been with the sheriff's office now for 5 years. I'm currently the detective sergeant in the sheriff's office. I know I have the skill, training, knowledge, and drive to lead this department. I also have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I've completed multiple trainings in supervisory and leadership, including FBI's leadership courses in supervisor, command, and executive classes. There's a multitude of state classes as well. When I earned my degree online, I was working full-time and part-time, sometimes 2 part-time jobs. So I know what it means to work hard. I'm running for sheriff because I want our department to excel at keeping you safe in your homes, at your businesses, in our schools, and throughout your daily travels. Having worked in the department now for some years and seeing things in the department, I see where changes and improvements can be made. As your sheriff, my priorities will be clear. Protecting your safety and your freedoms, I feel the sheriff's office must stand as a guardian of both of those. Supporting our deputies is going to be equally as important. A sheriff's office is only effective when the front line knows the leadership has their back. That means proper training, safe staffing, and the tools they need to protect us professionally. I will also be a working sheriff out on the road working alongside the deputies. I am not one to work behind a desk. Those of you that know me know that. Accountability and professionalism. Supporting deputies and demanding higher standards must go hand in hand. The public does deserve both. We build public trust by being transparent, ethical, and committed to serving everyone with fairness and respect. Lastly, real public safety solutions. We must address crimes before they grow. By working with schools, families, and community partners, we can proactively meet local needs. The best crime we can fight is a crime that never happens. So community-oriented policing, that used to be a big thing, slowed down, now it's coming back. So I'm from this community, I am for this community, and I believe deeply in the people who live, work, and raise their families here. We all want the same basic things, safe neighborhoods, and a secure future. Together, we can ensure our sheriff's office reflects our shared values and builds a department we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Dwayne Matulovich, do you want me to repeat the question? And by the way, it's okay anytime you want to repeat, I'm going to do that.
Well, I'll be a little bit different. I'm Dwayne Matulovich, and I'm here tonight to ask you for your vote to be your next sheriff. I'm a lifetime resident of Washington. I've lived in Klickitat County for over 22 years, and I'm prepared to be your sheriff. I'm the only candidate that has 19 years of full-time law enforcement experience right here in this county. I'm the only candidate that's worked for Grange Police Department, the Goldendale Police Department, and the Klickitat County Sheriff's Office. That counts with a fair amount of institutional knowledge of each department. I'm the only candidate that has the support of the chiefs, past and present, working in this county. They have worked with me. They know my character and my ethics. And like you, I recognize that change is needed in our community's public safety. I grew up in the Gorge. I came from very humble beginnings. Hard work was ingrained in me at a very young age. I worked my way through high school. I worked my way through college. I started my career in law enforcement. I got married and I started a family. Just like everyone here, I want to live that American dream. I know we want safety in our homes, security on our streets, and an unbiased communication with our law enforcement. If you have to make the call for an emergency, you want a timely response. I believe everybody should be treated with dignity and respect, no matter if you're a victim or the alleged suspect. I will lead by example. I'll have a working administration that can cover the road when staffing is short. This keeps us in touch with both the deputies and the community we serve. I'll be financially responsible with the budget. Our deputies will have more opportunities for career development so we can build our future leaders from within the department. I'll have a public safety information officer that will handle public releases responsibly and avoid re-traumatizing victims. Our community runs on volunteers, and I will strengthen the reserve program so we have trained, commissioned law enforcement volunteers throughout the county. I will reshape the posse program to be a stronger volunteer organization that does not represent itself as law enforcement. I will build a department we can trust for transparency and open communication. Working for the best interests of our community, this department will be about enforcing laws, not party politics. I'm a candidate that has your interests at heart, and I'm asking for your vote to be your next sheriff. Thank you.
All right, now comes the fun part of the program. We'll begin the question. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes, or we'll be here all night. Question number one, here we go. In Senate Bill 5974 is upheld by the courts. Posse members would be prohibited from enforcing criminal law, carrying firearms, and operating surveillance databases, among other changes. Do you support these reforms, and if not, why? Or what changes would you make to the posse and scout programs in response to the laws? Start with Mr. Warren.
So first off, regarding the sheriff's posse, I do support the posse. I think their volunteerism is great. I like to bring up that they do have additional trainings and they could be the additional first responder that might be there when you guys have a collision or you need it. Senate Bill 5974 could change that a little bit, make it clear that posse members currently do not have any law enforcement authority. They do not make arrests. They do not do enforcement. I do understand some community concerns that it appears that way, and that's probably a select few that are just acting out of turn. I do not agree with Senate Bill 5974. I do not agree with some of the things the legislature and government in Olympia are passing these days. I feel that they shouldn't be telling us what we can and can't do. That should be more of a local community thing instead of thing. Okay. Yeah, we've heard about restructuring the posse a little bit, and that may happen. The scout program, I think, is fine. But keep in mind, a lot of agencies have very similar programs. Okay? They're just called something different. There's volunteers that go out on patrol, handle low-level calls and incidents. They're just called auxiliary. They're called, City School Kansas, actually cop programs. There's same thing, just different names, okay? Thank you.
All right. Mr. Matulovich?
So I've already stated, I don't want them to do law enforcement activities or even look like law enforcement. There should be a distinct difference. So that part I kind of agree with. The expansion that I would like to do is more emergency preparations, such as floods, the natural disasters, and the things that hit us the hardest in our community, like wildland fires. So I'd like to have more training along those lines. As far as Senate Bill 5974, there's parts of that I don't agree with, and I think it should always be the power of the people to vote the sheriff in and vote us out. That's the biggest part that I don't agree with, how they want to change it. I'd already, in my process of elimination, or however you want to look at it, I'd already thought about how to reshape or rebrand the posse program, like auxiliary, to make sure that they have rules that are very well explained to the public, and I think that would change the image of the posse.
Okay, Mr. Bruce, please.
So just exactly like the other two candidates, I disagree with some of the things that is in that Senate bill. I'm hoping the courts continue to do the right thing. We'll see. But as far as it relates to the posse, absolutely, I agree with having a posse because it's just a volunteer group. We will never have enough officers to cover this entire county. But volunteers help tremendously. And it is a question about changing their outfit so that it's clear what is a posse member and what is a deputy. It's about being transparent with what their policies and procedures are and about what those uniforms are so that you, the public, will know who is who. The trainings are already open to the public. You can go to a posse training right here at the Pioneer Center or even in Goldendale or all the way to Beckleton if you want to go way out there. They meet once a month, and they generally have started out their training talking about the fact that they are not law enforcement officers and they do not have that authority. But they're great for handling barricades and helping us with non-law enforcement duties.
All right, question number 2, and this will start with Mr. Matulovich. What is your stance on collaborating with immigration enforcement? Some of these are going to be a lot of fun, folks.
My stance on immigration, that's a federal job. They have a job to do, just like we have a job to do. We don't enforce federal laws. They don't enforce state laws. As long as they, as sheriff, will come up with a policy and procedures on how to really work with any federal agency or any other agency, and as long as we work together and they follow the rules and the law, I have no problem working with immigration.
Okay, Mr. Bruce.
Absolutely. Immigration is a federal issue, and therefore local law enforcement is not tasked with handling immigration issues. If any law enforcement agent comes into the county and is asking for help, law enforcement's answer is always yes, as long as their paperwork is in order. And so I support helping someone, but we're not going to interfere with what they do. We're not going to keep them from doing their job. But we're not going to do their job for them either. And so I think it's important to understand that there is a time and place that law enforcement has to ask for citizenship information. And that is, if we take you into custody, we have to ask that question based upon the Geneva Convention, because we may have to notify your home country by international law. Other nationalities, it's up to the individual, and we have to ascertain whether or not we need to notify your embassy for you. And so that's how we would handle it.
Okay, Mr. Warren. I'm going to move through this pretty quickly, folks. We have lots of questions.
So the immigration one's not a question that comes up a whole lot. It's probably not something we're going to have to really deal with in Klickitat County. So my position on it aligns a lot with the State Sheriff's Association. And some of the meetings we've gone to and we've talked about it, and the chiefs and sheriffs and the U.S. Attorney General has talked about what's a law enforcement response going to be to immigration activities should they come to our communities. Even the larger cities around Yakima and Sunnyside and whatnot, my opinion aligns with theirs, with as far as they will respond to keep the peace and make sure everybody stays safe, and that's both sides. If laws are broken, then they will take enforcement action. If state laws or county ordinances are broken, then we will take action then. It's that simple for you guys. Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll start with Mr. Bruce on this one. Sheriff Sommer is active and vocal about his membership in the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. When you are elected sheriff, will you join the CSPOA? Before you answer, if you have your questions ready, it's time for us to pick them up. So there'll be people on each edge of the room, pass them to the end of the row, and there should be people coming around to pick those up. Ask a couple questions. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Well, housekeeping first.
Gotta run it.
Thank you for the question, Roger. So the answer is no, I will not be joining another national group. As potentially the next sheriff, I'm going to be more than busy taking care of issues that are right here in Klickitat County and fixing things that need to be fixed here locally, because that's where our issues are. That's where our concerns are. That's where all of y'all are. And we need to focus on Klickitat County.
All right, Mr. Warren.
Right, CSPOA, I really don't have time for, and nor do I intend to have time for. I like to work. I'm more concerned with the local communities, what this county needs, and protecting everybody's rights here in this county. Networking with the State Sheriff's Association is going to be important for any of us, even potentially Western states. The Constitutional Sheriff Peace Officer Association, maybe not. That's just my opinion. It's just nothing I've really looked into too much, nor do I intend to.
All right, Mr. Tulovich.
Short, sweet, nope. My focus is gonna be on the county. That's where it needs to be, not on national politics.
All right, short answer. We would appreciate those. All right. Now, the following questions were submitted by the public in advance of tonight's forum. And question 4 will start with Mr. Warren. Can a sheriff choose not to enforce laws they deem unconstitutional? Why or why not? These are fun questions, aren't they?
For me, I try to keep things simple. I don't try to overcomplicate things. I approach this question with a reasonable, necessary, common sense policing. Like I mentioned earlier with Olympia passing bills. Some of the laws that Olympia may pass may not be in the best interest of Klickitat County residents. If that's the case, and that's what people think, then we may not be enforcing those within reason, okay? Again, what's reasonable, what's gonna be necessary for enforcement, and just that common sense, what do we want?
Okay. All right. Next. Sorry, Mr. Tulovich. Yes, sir. Can a sheriff choose not to enforce laws they deem unconstitutional, and why or why not?
My job is to enforce the law. It's not to interpret them. So I would leave it up to the judicial system to make that decision.
All right. Okay.
Part of being a constitutional person is enforcing the laws as they're given. When we take issue with them, the sheriff does not make that determination of whether something is unconstitutional. By those same constitutions, whether it's the US or the state constitution, it is the courts that make those determinations. And we would work with the courts when we are facing laws that are a problem for Klickitat County.
All right, and this next one will start with Mr. Matulovich. This is interesting. Please share your views on what is the best wildlife policy for Klickitat County. Do you believe there is a growing imbalance between predators and their prey that could cause an overcrowding of deer? And if so, what solutions would you see?
So recently, I have started recontacting some of the people I knew in Fish and Wildlife, and I asked actually a very similar question. And how they come up with the numbers that they do is, I think, antiquated. However, there's no way to prove it either way. But what I would work towards is coming up with a policy that we can work with Fish and Wildlife to make sure that in a case of an emergency, we always have a response, depending on how the state law goes and the resources we have. But it would be best to have a good working relationship with multiple agencies, but especially Fish and Wildlife, because they're supposed to be the experts in it.
Okay, Mr. Bruce.
I want to make sure that we are enforcing people's rights. And do I believe that there is a predator issue here in Klickitat County? In certain parts, absolutely there are. I've seen cougars. And out on the ranches and the farms, it's a problem. And they already have laws on the books that allow them to handle aggressive animals. But we would also need to work closely with Fish and Wildlife, develop a policy, develop that relationship so that we can have those conversations. Some of the answer is actually education for when those predators approach the populated areas.
Okay. And Mr. Warren.
I do support our current program that we have for predator animals now. Yes, we do have problems even here within about a mile as the crow flies there, because we've had livestock and pets on various occasions killed by mountain lions. Now, Fish and Wildlife used to manage that. And somewhere along the lines, I feel they dropped the ball. They just stopped doing it especially as much. So when we call them, they don't respond anymore. So we have taken it upon ourselves to maintain that program. And sometimes, maybe just because a cat is seen in an area, we necessarily shouldn't be going and hunting that one. But when they are killing animals or they're in areas with active calving going on, they could be removed. And I've hunted out of Trout Lake since I was about 18, and I really feel declines in deer and elk population. A contributing factor to that is the increase in the non-human population. Yeah, that's my statement. Thank you.
Okay, all right, next one is Mr. Bruce. If elected sheriff, how will you earn the trust of community members who may not share your politics, background, or personal beliefs?
Thank you. So it's about having meetings just like this all over the county and meeting people where they're at and actually actively listening to the concerns that you have and then following up on those concerns. Because there's a lot of trust that's been broken in this county, and that's what it's going to take is a lot of meetings, a lot of conversations, and then a lot of action on both sides of the fence. But we can find those common ground because we're not going to agree 100% on everything, but we can agree on how to move forward on issues.
Okay. Warren.
Right. We're not going to agree on everything. And even if somebody comes to me with a statement, a suggestion, and I disagree with it 99%, I'm still going to learn from it. And I still want them to have that comfort to come to me and talk to me about it. And one of the things I've wanted since the beginning of my campaign and when I decided to run is more community involvement and more community input, as well as more department input and how the sheriff's office is responding to events, conducting itself, or performing. I really want the communities to be able to come to me with those concerns, suggestions, and comments. And like I say, whether I agree or not, I'm still going to learn from it. It will still be taken into consideration.
Obviously, communication is important because we've all talked about it. I think being transparent and obviously the open communication with our community and being out in the community, I couldn't agree more on just being part of the community, seeing what's really happening. And we can all agree to disagree on certain things. So it's just getting that two-way conversation back and not be as judgmental.
Okay, next one is Mr. Warren gets to start. Please describe a mistake or hard lesson that made you a better leader. Ooh, this is a good one.
Where do I start? Now, I think back to when I was younger in law enforcement and knew everything and had a lot to learn. And, you know, a lot of times newer, younger cops are a little cocky, and I probably was. And I've had to be humbled a few times. And just the repetition of doing the job and learning and growing as a person to better myself to help the younger generation of law enforcement. So as I train people now, and I oversee our field training program, even yesterday I was talking with one of the trainers, similar stuff. We forget where we came from sometimes, and we have to remember that we've made mistakes, we make mistakes, and we need to learn and grow from those and not continue to make those mistakes.
All right, let's keep a little bit.
Well, this is actually something that I've learned recently, that don't do everything. You actually have to share the knowledge. You can't just take on the job. You have to be able to teach people and have the patience to let them learn, because you want them to know what you know and then some. And you have to build them up. I points and we learn that it goes along with.
Mr. Bruce.
I also will go back to my early years as a young police officer. And yeah, pride. I had had radiokeratotomy done on one of my eyes. I probably should have called in sick. But because we were shorthanded, I came to work. However, I could not judge distances very well. And I almost totaled a brand new squad car. They fixed it, but it was never quite the same. But absolutely, the chief and I had a long conversation about that. And I feel like it was a pivotal moment for me about recognizing my weaknesses and that it's okay to have those. It's okay to call in sick when you're actually sick. I should not have been at work that night.
All right, this one was done with Mr. Mc. If elected sheriff, how will you keep the sheriff's office within budget while still protecting the public safety, retaining staff, and keeping response times low?
So reallocation of funds. Right now we have really top-heavy administration. I personally don't think we need that much administration, so there's a couple positions right there, and maybe working deputies that have experience and can work the road. So that's two more bodies to the road that can help out when there's shortage on the road. And then the next step that I would do is start training as much as I could the deputies, so we can start putting on a reserve academy throughout the county for all the different agencies. So again, we have law enforcement training, commission deputies that can help out on the road and reduce some of the funds, the overtime, and maybe reduce some of the burnout with the deputies.
Bruce.
Sticking to a budget is super important. I know in looking at past budgets that the sheriff's office in non-emergency situations have spent upwards to just over 2 additional bodies worth of money, which would be critical to help. It's about writing a good, solid budget that meets the needs for what we need to be doing. It's about asking for additional bodies within the budgeting process and getting people hired and trained so that we can answer those calls for service. It's about looking at our schedules and looking at where, historically speaking, those calls for services are located based on location, time, and day, so that we can better predict where we need people for patrol.
Mr. Warren.
Keeping within the budget, obviously that's important. We go over budget, and by state statute, the sheriff gets to pay that out of their pocket if the commissioners won't cover it. I know the commissioners are for finding additional funding and supporting additional deputies, and that's going to be very important. Maintaining that budget and expenses, obviously equally important. Working with the auditor's office, working with the commissioners to make sure we're keeping on track for the annual budget and having an idea of where your peak spending times are going to be generally through the summer with overtime and wages. Being fiscally responsible is important to me. My personal life, I don't like to buy things, or the business, I don't like to buy things or waste money if I'm not going to see a return on. I see things in the department where we can shift some funds, where we can save a little money and potentially use that money for additional deputies to better serve the communities. I don't see a big problem with the budget, although I've never managed big budgets. Having somebody in the department, the chief civil clerk or deputy, having somebody competent who can do that is going to be a huge asset in me.
Okay, thank you. Next question, Mr. Bruce gets to start us off. What kind of leadership would you offer during a wildfire? How would you oversee extensive evacuations? And hope you never have to.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
So The leadership that I would offer is from the front. It's boots on the ground. It's working hand in hand with the commissioners. It's working hand in hand with the emergency management. It's about staffing the barricades. Law enforcement is always in emergency management, there's annexes, and in that annex, evacuations falls under law enforcement. And it's our role to get out to everybody and get that information out to everybody. But I would not be on vacation. If I was, I'd be coming back quickly. And I've had to do that before. But it's about showing up. It's about making sure that our people have the tools necessary so that they can do their jobs. And some of those tools are about downtime, just a break here and there, some water, some food, and then get right back at it. And so it's about supporting our people 100%.
Okay, Mr. Warren?
Wildfire response management as far as law enforcement goes. Yeah, I kind of know something about this one. Last year with the Burgoyne fire, yes, vacation was canceled. A buddy of mine called me and said, "Hey, you got a fire that's close by." I looked out the upstairs window, and yeah, the smoke was rolling not far from my place. And we live up near the start of Catherine Creek. So my wife goes, "Oh, what do we need to do? Do we need to pack?" No. We need to get in the patrol car and we need to go to work. And we canceled the vacation. I had a few 30-hour shifts in there. Everything from patrols, evacuations, making sure the guys are taken care of. Like I said, food, water, energy drinks mostly anymore, and Zins or whatever. I don't do those, but they like those nicotine patches. So you got to have those for the guys to keep them going. But yeah, and I took my RV down to Lyle to set up a remote command post so the residents of that area have somewhere to go and get information. Did it work perfectly? No. Was there things I would have done differently if I could have? Absolutely. And next time it'll go smoother. Thank you.
All right. Mr. George?
So in a major fire, instead of ICS, it goes state mold, you are in support. And just like they brought up, you're there for evacuations, patrols, and you set up the logistics for it. And just try to make things smooth and listen to the public to see what's going on.
Okay, all right. This time we'll start with Mr. Warren. And somebody's written a couple of questions here. I'm just going to ask one of them. Please identify 2 current practices or policies in the sheriff's office you would strengthen, and 2 that you would consider bending. Let me give you a moment for this one, but this is a little tricky. I'm tempted to go da 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 da. Yeah, I just don't want to have anybody caught off guard by this one. So, okay, ready to rock and roll?
So when it comes to our department policies, of course, we have a policy manual, just like any department. It's fast. Right now, we're in the middle of making some changes and updates, and I actually have all those to review and start to write the new policy manual. As far as some things that need strengthened, we do have a policy that says the shift sergeant shall ensure that there are 3 units on duty at all times. Now, that's not realistic these days. We have 2, often 2 cars for the whole county, sometimes just 1. So getting that reinforced where we're maintaining that 3-car coverage is very important to me, because I do worry the day when somebody's going to get hurt or we're not going to be able to respond to an incident soon enough when somebody's going to get hurt. Now, that could potentially be done through shifting the schedule a little bit, or of course hiring more deputies, but we really want to shy away from telling deputies they can't take time off vacation, what have you, just for coverage. So we got to find that balance.
Ms. McDermott? Oh, I'm sorry, were you done?
We're getting a little long. It's taking a little bit longer to find a couple other policies, but there's quite a few in there that need some adjustment. Sorry about that. A little bit.
Well, I've been away from the department for almost 3 years, so I'm not up on the current policies. But from what I see in the public, I would definitely want to strengthen our public information officer to make sure the information is put out properly. And the second part would be probably the public records officer role. Would definitely strengthen that to make sure that we don't get any lawsuits. And as far as the end, I don't have a good answer for that. So, okay, Mr. Booth.
And I've never been to the sheriff's office, but I do know that they are currently working on revising their policies and procedures through a program called Lexapol. And so it's a great program that assists them in writing good, strong legal documents for that. If I was to pick something, however, it's going to be based upon transparency of those policies, and so that they should be made public so that you know what our policies are. Not all the procedures will do agencies release, but nearly all of them do make the policies available publicly. And then, yes, I know the commissioners are currently working on streamlining and making public information easier to access.
Okay, I'm gonna do the second half of this question now, starting with Mr. Warren. If selected sheriff, how will you recruit and retain good deputies?
Yeah, long-term, that's key. That can save us a lot of money over a decade or two. I think starting in the communities more, like I mentioned a little bit earlier about community-oriented policing, not necessarily having a dedicated school resource officer, but just somebody that goes into school and says, hi, how are things going, checks in with the staff, talks to some kids, starts to have those positive interactions with the youth. That can build our future law enforcement personnel. And building somebody within the community, they're more likely to stay within the community and not transfer somewhere else, which is always a problem because there's always another agency that's paying more, has a hiring bonus, seems to be way better than what they have here. But having somebody with their family here and their roots here is going to be important. Retention, I think having an administration that is efficient and has their back and is helping out, I think that's going to be huge. Deputies like to train. They like to go to trainings. One thing I would like to see, if fiscally possible, is every deputy can take a week-long training in a field that they choose. Something that interests them, that will benefit the department, will benefit their growth and their wellness as well. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McKinley.
So a good resource would be our community. Reach out to, like the idea of reserves, which are volunteers. Those are a two-part thing. You get people that are in each community and you get them to like the job, and then they finally want to go full time. So one was a reserve at one point. That's a great resource. So we can pull them, they're already established here, they know the community, it's great. We can also pull from firefighters and EMTs as well, because they're into the public service. And it's an easy changeover. A good, strong administration, that's supportive of the department. Social media, get it out there to show our quality of life, because it's a beautiful area and we have a lot of traditions and just can't beat the area. And show that our department is taking the individuals and providing career development to launch them in their future careers as well. Mr. Morris.
So as you've already heard, it starts with creating a strong administration that is very supportive, that makes a change in the culture of the organization so that the employees feel psychologically safe. The best recruiters of any organization already work for that organization. Because if they feel supported, if their benefits are at least reasonable, they're going to tell their friends, they're going to tell their family members, they're going to tell others that this is a great place to come to work. And so we have to go back in and create that situation. As far as actual recruiting, it's about telling our story. It's about some of those same officers through our social media, putting out their information about who they are, where they came from, how much they truly are enjoying being here in Klickitat County.
Okay, thank you. That's the end of the questions that were submitted in advance. I'm going to give you a moment or two, take a breath, and we'll bring up the questions that few members of the audience have submitted, and I will read them after. Thank you. I want to thank people who print very generally for us old guys. Okay. So this starts with Mr. Matsubis. You go. How are we going to ensure a strong, positive relationship with the prosecuting attorney's office and create a partnership that is effective in getting criminals prosecuted?
Turn it on this time. I'll go back to communication. We have to have open communication with the PA's office. We have to have an understanding. And that goes into actually visiting them and make sure they know who you are and to feel comfortable to ask those questions. And I think that's something that some people don't do. And then you wonder why they didn't prosecute your case and get frustrated. You have to understand they have different requirements than the law enforcement on the road because we work off different probable cause. So knowing those limits, having the trainings between the agencies, also very vital to break those barriers and the expectations they have. Because every new prosecutor also has different expectations on how you write a report, how you submit a citation, and your probable cause on felony charges. So everything's always different. And again, it just comes back to the communication and knowing what to expect so that you work well together.
All right, Mr. Bruce.
I concur. It all starts with conversations, with good communication. It's about understanding what are the PA's expectations to accept cases for prosecution. I'm used to engaging in those conversations and learning more about those things. Historically, we've created how to file a case books so that officers and investigators can just follow through the different steps on the different types of cases so that they can easily see an example of what it takes. But it's about writing good reports to start off with, the who, what, where's, and whens. It's about getting that probable cause into each and everything, because we can't just stop people just because. There's a reason we do things. And so it's important that we document these things too, to include capturing all of the data and make sure that we're sharing all of the points with the PA's office.
Mr. Warren?
Thank you. Yes, the relationship with the prosecuting attorney's office. Obviously, that's very important. We're not going to be successful in our jobs if we are not getting convictions and charges and jail time or whatever it may be. And in years past, we have seen that relationship strained with the sheriff's office, and I don't know if that's that people are too proud or too stubborn to sort it out. I think currently that's changed a lot. It's definitely a lot better. I think we can continue to improve that. I think the sheriff's office needs to work with the prosecuting attorney's office to make sure we're doing the best we can and presenting the best material we can. I want members of the prosecuting attorney's office to, just like the community, feel open to coming to me or coming to us with suggestions on how we could do things to make their lives easier. Additional trainings from the prosecuting attorney's office. We had one this year. It was great. It had been, I think, 5 years since we had anything from them before. And I'm not putting that on them. We need to ask for it too, but just maintaining that open door policy and having even regular meetings between administration, absolutely key in being successful. Thank you.
Okay. Here's our second one from the audience, folks. Start with Bruce. What strategies will you use to fight drug crimes and shut down illegal trap houses? I'm not sure what that is, sorry.
So drugs are without a doubt a problem here in Klickitat County. And it's first and foremost, it begins with rebuilding relationships with the other law enforcement agencies in this area, to include across the river. I gotta get my bearings, sorry. But it's important to know that, because we're never going to be large enough to do it all by ourselves, but it's about taking the offense to the crime itself and being hard on people that are pushing drugs. It's about identifying those locations, staking them out, and these investigations take forever. The sheriff's office was very successful about a month ago, I believe it was, but it involved, I think, 5 or 6 different agencies. And they do a good job at that, but it's a constant. We can't just stop, take somebody off the street and be done with it. It's a constant effort on our part. But when we focus on that, we're not focusing on other things because we are shorthanded.
Mr. Warren.
Combating some of the drug crimes or drugs in the communities, especially the harder stuff like fentanyl. It wasn't a thing when I was working drugs here in Binge and White Salmon back in 2010, 11, 12. Fentanyl didn't exist here. It was meth and cocaine then. Still a fair amount of cocaine here, but so we need to build detectives and deputies that can work those cases. There are people that want to do it, but it's scary to a deputy that's never done it before. And I don't know if it's the same case Mr. Bruce mentioned, but we did have a case here where the sheriff's office assisted Goldendale, and they did get a pound of fentanyl in the search warrant. And that case started when GPD made a stop for a suspended driver. And one of the detectives called me. I happened to be at WASPIC, which is a sheriff's police chiefs conference. And he was asking, hey, what can we do? We've got this guy that wants to do this buy and see if we can put this case together. Cool, just so happens my pickup was there, and I keep a little cash in there for such occasions. And he was able to make the buy and put the case together. I told him where the paperwork was, and I also said, hey, do the best you can. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. We'll learn from it, we'll go forward. But they did a great job on it and was able to get that pound of fentanyl off the street. So now he's got that confidence, he's got that eagerness and drive to go do more now.
Okay, Mr. Mitrovich.
So we have a young department, and they don't know the process of getting into drugs because COVID hit, it shut down. The laws changed, well, it's reversed. So now we need to get back into the training. That way we can get the young deputies eager to go after the drugs again. And that means proactive policing. That means building a cooperative interagency, building cooperation between local agencies so we can pull the resources. And drug interdiction, making the stops, asking the right questions, and that all comes from training. And once you get a positive, like Mr. Warren brought up, they become, lack of better words, addicted, and they go after it. I personally loved fighting the drug problem in our county. That was something I was very big on. And getting back into control buys, using confidential informants, those are things that we can start using again. And that's training that needs to happen, and we just start doing it.
Okay, thank you. This one's for, we'll start with Mr. Warren. I like this one. If elected, how will you ensure you'll represent the West County and hear our voices? I think a lot of people have that question.
I mean, really, I can answer that with 3 words. I live here. Right? I live up Snowden, so I'm here. I know the west side of the county has felt like they've had a lack of representation over the years. I think that's improved a lot in the last few years. We've got deputies that live in Lyle and BZ and well, 2 in Lyle now and Dallas. So I think the West End coverage is improving. But but getting out and doing some community events more and just being seen and interacting with you guys, town hall meetings, the occasional council meetings, whether it's the community councils. I was thinking about that today, and that's something I would like to do is occasionally go to community council meetings, just to be there and listen to see what people's thoughts are and concerns.
Thanks, Matilda.
Same thing, being in the community. So they do have deputies that live down here, but make sure that either they're told to make contact in the schools, to be out in things, and just be seen. That's something that hasn't happened for a while, and we need to get back into just community policing. Stop in, get a soda, say hi, introduce yourself. That's something that can happen instead of running call to call. And again, it comes from being short, and hopefully we get the staffing up. And again, have an administration that you also see, hear, and can talk to. That way we can build those relationships then.
Yeah, Mr. Bruce. And whoever's got their phone, would you please silence it? Everybody's making that noise.
I heard about her.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so it's all right, thank you. So, yeah, when we're the sheriff, although by constitution, it is a partisan election, once we're elected, we're your sheriff. We are here for every corner of the county. And it's about going back. I talked about having community meetings. It's about rebuilding that trust and hearing what you want. And remember, it's your sheriff's office because you're Klickitat County. It is your sheriff's office, and you do have a say in what we do. We want to hear from you. That's part of being transparent. We want to have you ask those questions, because sometimes you're going to see something and you think, man, I don't know if that's what I want the deputy doing or not. Often it's a miscommunication because the deputy is doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and that's on us. We're not telling you how we do things. But every now and then, they're not doing exactly what they shouldn't be doing. And so, yeah, we need to know those things too, because we have to be able to be held accountable. And we need y'all to help us with that.
Okay, thank you. This one is for Mr. Matulovich. Oh, interesting. Address your views on flock safety and other warrantless surveillance networks. It's an interesting item here in the last few weeks.
So my view on Flock is it's a program that would be a public information nightmare, because there's so much that people can request. However, it could be used, but we just don't have the staffing in a small agency that ever meet the demands the public would probably require from it. And most of us don't want to be watched all the time. I'm one of them. I don't want to be watched all the time. So I'm not huge on the Flock program just because the policies, the procedures, and the staffing that it would take to do that would just not work in our community.
Yeah. Mr. Bruce.
So some of you may not know, Flock is a surveillance system that's put out into the communities, often in a fixed location to record things like vehicles and license plates as they go by. The problem is the maintenance of those records that, historically speaking, Flock has done a poor job of tightening the lid. They sell to the highest bidder. And, and your safety and your security is what we're here to protect. And so I would not be for Flock cameras in a first term whatsoever, because like I said, we've got higher priorities, and that's not a technology we need to embark on at this time. But if we were, it would be a lot of conversations with the communities to hear your side of the stories, because you get to drive what we do.
Mr. Warren.
Yeah, the flock surveillance has kind of become a hot topic. And I mean, honestly, I have mixed feelings on it. I also don't feel like any data center needs to store all the information everywhere I go, but I also don't have anything to hide. I can say, I haven't utilized it personally, but I know the department has. And it's been instrumental in one, solving a double homicide, and another on some stolen property cases where we can contact somebody that has access to the system and might not even be a law enforcement agency and say, hey, did you see any of these things go by your place? Not much different than ring cams or any private cameras on your house, but flock is obviously a lot larger. And if it's something that's going to be utilized, there needs to be policies and procedures in place to how they store the data, make sure that data is secure and safe, and who can access the data, why it can be accessed, and prevent misuse. I know there's cases of officers misusing that system, and they need to go. We can't be doing that. So, yeah, my opinions on it, I see the benefits and I see the concerns of it. So where we end up is probably going to be above me on.
Okay, Mr. Bruce, you started this one. This is kind of repeats what we said at the beginning. What prompted you to run for sheriff? And, you know, why not use the same thing you did for the introduction? Let's see, test you with that.
I'll turn my notes over.
Oh,
So I bought property here in Klickitat County back in June of 20, and moved to the property in September of 22. I got real involved in Goldendale area through church. And through that, a lot of people got to know me and my background. And probably about 2 years ago, more than one person, but it started with two different people at different times, came up to me and asked me if I would consider running for sheriff. And I told them no. But they persisted, and other people joined into the asking, and I started doing my research. And I felt like that, yes, my background in administration and management of running law enforcement agencies is a critical component of what is needed today as your next sheriff.
Mr. Warren.
What prompted me to run for sheriff? Nights like this. Nice and warm in here. No, when I started kicking it around and talking to some of the members of the department and getting their feedback and input and having their support, what it really came down to is I made the decision to run for them and for you and the communities in this county. I really do love this county. I think Klickitat County is amazing. It's one of the few counties we can go from the nice green west side here all the way over to the farms out east. And all the people in between, for the most part, are just amazing. Whether I agree with them or not, everybody's very respectful. And I think I am well respected in that. Look forward to leading the department into the future and growing the communities.
Mr. Mitrovic.
So what decided for me was change needs to happen. Change needs to happen in our community. Change needs to happen in our department, and building those relationships that have just split. I don't like seeing the divide, and I think I'm the one that's going to make it happen. We're going to bring it back together and start communicating, talking to each other, talking to neighbors. Like I said, you don't have to agree. You can agree to disagree, but we need to start having those communications and not be so polarized.
All right. This one is for Mr. Warren. What is your top priority for law enforcement in the county?
Well, as stated in the beginning, there, just making sure we have the deputy support, we're protecting everybody's safety and freedom as best we can. So a few things I'd like to accomplish in the first year. Like I've said a little bit, there's some areas we can make some changes and some improvements, whether it's in the office and administration and paperwork and public records. A lot of areas that need a little bit of work. Big things for me is going to be trying to get some additional deputies and working on the funding for that. I know, like I mentioned, we have commissioners on board with that. I've spoken to one in depth about it. So we have some ideas on how to do that. I know some commissioners that are currently running are also, there's some ideas for a small public safety grant, or not public safety grant, but a levy, sorry, that could get us a lot more funding. That's going to be up to the citizens, obviously. So first year, hiring an additional 2 deputies, I think is feasible next year. Ideally, 3 to 4 would be huge for the department for coverage, safety, wellness, getting guys that time off.
Mr. George.
So there's a lot of little things. The first thing I start with is the working administration. Again, so right off the bat, we have people that can cover on the road when needed. Efficiency in the office. One thing I learned from the railroad is efficiency. We can get stuff hammered out really fast. Training to the deputies. We need to get the training increased so we can start putting on classes for reserves. Reserves are volunteers that put in the hours, and again, can patrol, they can mission, they can make arrests, and that'd be vital to, again, seeing people in the public. We can have more reserves down here, so you see law enforcement, they're engaged, and they know what each community has. And that'll work towards restoring the trust in the community.
Okay, Mr. Lewis.
So my top priority is service, because we're a service-oriented business and we've got to be able to get that right. We owe that to you. We owe it to give you great customer service. It's about rebuilding those community trust across the entire county and delivering great customer service to help drive down crime, and more importantly, the fear of crime. The second thing is about learning. It's about giving employees opportunities for training. It's about giving them opportunities to lead as supervisors. It's about giving them career development. It's about adding, all of us have been talking about, it's about adding deputies to the mix that we desperately need to increase that. And so I would be doing a comprehensive staffing study to identify exactly how many deputies do we need in all the areas. And finally, leading is the third thing I want to focus on. I want the Klickitat County Sheriff's Office to be the leading law enforcement agency in the area. I want other agencies to be able to look at us and say, how do they do things? And it starts with every employee of the Sheriff's Office is a leader, because y'all are worth it.
Okay, I have here in my hand the last question. And once this is done, each of you will have 2 minutes to do a closing statement. So we start with Mr. Mafrovich, and please describe your role in communicating with other law enforcement departments. We'll answer the question, then we'll do the next person to leave with closing on. So.
Communicating with other departments. Yeah, it's communicating with other departments. You have to have a relationship that you build upon, and you have to be open, realistic, and not put each other down. Sometimes that's something that, again, pride can get in the way, like my department's better, or so on. But we need to get past that and realize that we're working for the community, and we need all the departments to work together, either be the PA's office, different agencies like Fish and Wildlife, Golden Bell, ED, all of them. We just need to work as one cohesive unit that would serve the public the best we can. Mr. Bruce.
It starts with me. And it's about us having those conversations and those meetings. I am used to having standing meetings with all the other law agencies. We would get together, whether it was weekly, like in the Tri-Cities, all the chiefs would get together, or quarterly, at another agency that I worked at. All the way down, even within the organization, the detective sergeants from all of the law enforcement agencies would have bi-monthly or quarterly meetings, just so they can talk about the crimes that are going on and share information and be able to share resources and work closer together by building those relationships between all of our different law enforcement agencies, not only in this county, but across the river also.
Okay, Mr. Warren.
Yeah, as sheriff, my role in the communicating with other agencies is going to start with me. It's about reaching out to other department heads, not just the police chiefs or sheriffs, but mental health, hospitals, possibly schools, superintendents, those things, and have collaborative meetings with all of them to hear their concerns. And I know in years past, the George sheriffs and chiefs used to meet. To my knowledge, that hasn't happened for a lot of years, and that's something that should happen. Detectives used to do it more regularly too, but you need to have that communication and that sit down so everybody can talk about current trends, what's going on in their jurisdictions. We all deal with the same people. We're all dealing with the same issues. So the more people that get together and talk about it, the better off we're going to be at solving those problems.
All right, it's time now for closing statements, and we'll start with Mr. Bruce. You just run right down the table. 2 minutes. Is a 2-minute warning? I guess you call it that.
Absolutely. I would have rather the baseball reference, but okay. So the takeaways are, I have the experience of running a law enforcement agency for almost 10 years with a background of about 24 years in a command staff position. And that's critical for what we need to get accomplished here. It's about bringing people together, about having what's known as procedural justice internally and externally. We have to be able to treat people nicely and treat them well internally. And it's about treating all of y'all well also. And having those conversations and hearing more about what it is that you want from your law enforcement agency. But my background, my education, I have a bachelor's degree in sociology and a master's degree in public affairs. My experience, I have a loving wife of almost 37 years that is willing to stand with me. I wouldn't be running if she had said no. But I think it was more like it's about time. And as I keep saying to people as we keep going to different meetings like this, I'm willing to do this because you're worth it.
All right.
Vote for John.
Mr. Warren.
So for me, first off, thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening to us. I greatly appreciate you guys coming out and taking the time to learn about all of us. But for me, this campaign isn't about politics. It's about the people. It's about ensuring that every single resident feels safe, heard, and respected. My experience in law enforcement has prepared me to lead. Law enforcement has changed drastically over the last few years, and we face new challenges and new laws. I believe it's essential to have a leader who understands the contemporary realities of law enforcement, managing active cases, guiding our team, and working directly with our dedicated deputies. My commitment goes far beyond sitting behind a desk. I aim to be an active leader. I will firmly protect your safety and your freedoms. I will focus on proactive community policing and supporting our deputies so they have the training and resources to serve the communities and make it home safe every night. This county is where we live, work, and raise our families. The service runs in my blood, and I'm ready to lead the sheriff's office with integrity, transparency, and real-time experience. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Drovich.
So I'm the candidate that has 19 years of full-time law enforcement experience right here in this county. I have the support of law enforcement agencies also in this county. And I know we want to be safe in our homes. We want security on our streets. And if we have to call for help, we want a timely response. I'm the sheriff that will work with the deputies and the people of this county. I will honor my oath to the Constitution by enforcing laws the way they are written, relying on the courts to interpret them rather than personal bias. Where laws can entrust me with discretion, I will exercise it with fairness, common sense, and respect for the people I serve, never to bend the law, but to apply it wisely. And I ask for your vote to be sheriff, so we can once again make this department one you can trust. Thank you all.
All right, before you start to applaud, I want to do a couple of, I used to write editorials for the Dallas Chronicle. I have a very short editorial. You people have been an awesome audience. These have been some of the best candidates I've heard in a long time. I don't think any of them will be that, Sheriff. We are very lucky to have this quality of people running for this office. And I have to remind you that more information on the upcoming election or to help with voter registration, please visit vote411.org. Mark your ballot early, return it in time to be counted on August 4th. If you want to watch this again on the volunteer thing. Now, applaud these guys. I've been along these over the years. This has been one of the very best from all of you guys here today. Acted with respect and treated everybody that way. That's the way. This is democracy in action, folks. And you've been a part of it.